All right, everybody, hello. We're going to kick off this stage now. This is the Builders Bridge, so if you are a developer, you should be here right now because it's going to be a pretty amazing day. But before we actually get into the content, I just want to welcome you to Meridian. I'm Justin Rice. I'm VP of Ecosystem at the Stellar Development Foundation. And the theme this year for Meridian is transformation, which I'm going to talk about more in a minute. But Stellar is 10 years old, right? But 2024 was actually the most transformative year ever for Stellar, both in terms of ecosystem growth and in terms of the Stellar stack. And that's what you're going to hear about on this stage, but from a builder's perspective. But first, let me just talk through what you can expect from Meridian. If you're upstairs, you probably saw all this, but here it is again. Church House, here you are. You found the Builders Bridge. It's definitely sort of a labyrinth, but there's actually a lot of great wayfinding. There's signs above doors. There's kiosks that you can touch, right, to actually find a map. And you should explore around. There's all kinds of great stuff happening. There are 3 stages with 130 speakers over 90 sessions. There's the Stellar Court, which is where there's sort of the general audience-focused presentations, real-world assets, building products on Web3, raising capital, stable coins, these kinds of things, Stellar Court. There is the blockchain borough where partners and various ecosystem participants are giving like sort of deeper dives into what they're building on Stellar. And of course, you're here at the Builders Bridge. There's also the Developer Underground, which is just across the way, which you should all check out. There are over 100 projects that are giving 4-minute rapid-fire pitches there. It's actually one of the most exciting spaces here at Meridian. You should definitely check it out. Level 1 brain date and networking spaces on level -1. There's also a day 3 that is devoted to networking. Look around, you'll find that there's a Stellar Social Club booth where you can go and sort of do some activations in order to win some really cool special swag. And there's also a Stellar, just general SDF booth where you can just go pick up some swag. There's also swag at the Dev Underground, so you're going to walk away with a lot of t-shirts, if nothing else. Let's see, there is more here on the next slide about tonight. Tonight there's a welcome cocktail. So here in the rotunda, the main stage, join from 5:30 to 7, there'll be music, there'll be drinks, there'll be light bites. It is the beginning of sort of the networking, socialization parts of the conference. It's important to meet people, wear your lanyard. I took mine off for the audio, but you know, it helps people remember who you are. I don't always remember faces. Let's see what else. Thursday, so this is a 3-day conference. Day 1 and 2, there's a lot of stage programming, but Thursday, the third day, I think Garen said this above, is actually sometimes one of the most like sort of magical, transformative days. There's a lot of small sessions. I'll be leading some. Various people in this audience will probably be leading some. Danelle will have a session. And this is a great time to like actually sit down at small tables, do some networking, get some mentorship. And for everything over the course of the weekend, if you want to know anything about scheduling, about times, about presentations, about what's on stage, about where the shuttles are to take you to the parties, get the Meridian app. That's the QR code there. You can also go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and just search for Stellar Meridian. You will find this application. It is really useful over the course of the weekend because it's hard to keep all of this stuff in your head. Let's see. And finally, you can engage in Meridian sessions in real time. So here's another QR code to scan. Here's a QR code to scan that will take you to something called Slido. Slido is where you can actually ask questions that will populate into a little pad that the speakers will have. If they're taking Q&A at the end, they'll be able to look at your questions. So if you want to ask questions, use Slido, scan this barcode, or you can go to slido.com and enter Builders Bridge. So slido.com, Builders Bridge. It'll walk you through it. Please engage. Questions are good. Even if speakers don't get to them, they'll see them. They'll know what you're thinking. More engagement, better times, better for everybody. All right. That's it for the sort of top of the hour announcements about what Meridian is. And now I would like to transition and actually welcome you to the Builders Bridge. So this is the Builders Bridge. Welcome. Right. This is the developer stage at Meridian, and so over the next 2 days, you're going to hear technical content. So if you're not interested in technical content, you can leave. But if somebody is out there and they don't know that this stage is here and they are interested in technical content, bring them, right? You're going to hear about innovations, design decisions, products that are being built all up and down the stack, right? And you'll hear about them from the thinkers and designers and builders who are actually making those decisions, making those, like sort of thinking those thoughts. You'll hear from them all of the things that they're building. And as you listen, I want you to, again, think about this year's Meridian theme, transformation. So I'm sort of taking a different approach to the context, setting context here. Like, as I think about transformation, I think, okay, where are we right now, right? We're in England, obviously, London, United Kingdom. Literally, we're in Westminster, right? 1 block from the Palace of Westminster, which, look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament, if you've watched European Vacation. So Westminster is a place that is like sort of a symbol of Great Britain. It's transformed over millennia as it's needed to like sort of meet the changing needs of the social order. It was Thorny Island, right? Just uninhabitable, thick with brush, and it was transformed when allegedly St. Peter appeared to a fisherman named Edric and said, "Throw your net in the water." Edric caught a salmon, said, "I'm going to build a church right here." And for years it was, some sort of a few monks lived around that church and sort of carved out a hard scrabble existence. But it was transformed, right? When Edward the Confessor decided to make that church fit for his own royal burial, sort of upgraded what was there. It was transformed again when William the Conqueror took the crown in that church, right? And it became the origin of English power. It became the place where kings and queens were coronated, the actual Palace of Westminster. Here pictured for the first time in the popular Bayeux Tapestry from 1070, the earliest known depiction of the Palace of Westminster, Norman conquests. It was transformed again, right, over the years by royal habitation, revolution, civil wars, the beheading of kings, colonization, naval dominance, the birth of an empire. The sun never set on that empire. And then it was transformed from a royal palace to a seat of a more decentralized form of governments, right? Parliamentary government, the Westminster system, the House of Commons, House of Lords. Transformed again when it burned down, right? The burning of the House of Commons, the burning of the House of Lords. This is actually a painting by J.W.N. Turner, who was an artist who sort of transformed people's understanding of what you could do with paint. Burned down and transformed in rebuilding, right? Transformed into something that we start to recognize, the Palace of Westminster. Look, kids, Big Ben, Parliament. They built the Elizabeth Tower. That's Big Ben, the Elizabeth Tower. And you can sort of see it start to take shape, right? It was the center of government and it became the center of industry, right? It became the center of finance. You can see coal ships and factories and sort of working stiffs shoveling pulp straight out of Dickens. And that pulp they're shoveling was actually used to make paper, to print money. Here, right? Transformed into the center of government, into the center of finance, into the center of industry. And because of that, it was once again transformed, right? It was transformed into a target. It was transformed by the Blitz. The Nazis bombed the Palace of Westminster 14 times. 14 times. Center of government, center of industry, center of finance, transformed into a target, transformed into rubble, bombed to ruins, and then rebuilt. At this point, Westminster becomes like sort of an emblem for Britishness, for resilience, stiff upper lip, right? Never give up, never give up, never give up. When a new generation comes along and they sing about their generation, they stand next to Big Ben, the Elizabeth Tower. That's the Who, right? They're British. You can tell because they're standing next to the icon of Britishness, Westminster Palace. There they are, the Who. It was transformed as swinging London gave way to Thatcherism, as Thatcherism gave way to the Eurozone to Brexit, generation after generation. The city grew up around it, and now you can see Westminster Palace through the spokes of the Millennium Wheel, right? The London Eye. And the London Eye, that's what I'm using just to stand in for modern day. So all around, the city transforms. Westminster now is like sort of this thing that's a little bit more solid, but it's still, what its meaning changes, right? And here we are in Westminster, this place that is transformed to meet needs. And now it's sort of a place that people look at from afar, that people hold conferences in. We've taken this place, Church House, and we've transformed it into Meridian, banners on the wall. And we've congregated a different kind of congregation than was originally meant to congregate here, right? We've congregated to talk about technology. And that's the context. Like, that is literally where we are. But, London is not just a place that transforms in terms of its emblematic nature, right? It is actually a place that drives transformation, right? Not far from where we sit right now. In 1665, Robert Hooke discovered the cell, transforming our understanding of biology, of the fundamental structures of nature, right? In 1816, Francis Ronald sent the first electric telegraph, the beginning of telecommunication. In 1837, Charles Babbage developed the analytic engine. In 1843, Ada Lovelace wrote the first computer program, Note G. It was a paper about that analytic engine. In 1865, Maxwell developed the laws of electromagnetism, transforming our understanding of electricity, of light, of magnets. In 1878, radio waves. And in 1896, Marconi built the wireless telegraph. Right here, right where we stand, very close to here at least, all of these transformations happened. In 1928, Fleming discovered penicillin, transforming life. In 1933, Leo Szilard discovered the nuclear chain reaction, transforming death. In 1975, a smaller innovation, Barclays dropped the first cash machine, not far from where we stand. You know, it was still transformative, and it probably makes sense to a lot of people in this room as we think about cash, as we think about access, as we think about finance. All of these transformations happened in a small circle from where we stand today. So here we are in this place that transforms, in a place that has driven transformative technology, coming together to think about transformation. And this is where I reach for a quote from a British author: "A self that goes on changing is a self that goes on living," Virginia Woolf. You can kind of sub in network for this, right? A network that goes on changing is a network that goes on living. And it's pretty important, right? It's important to transform, to adapt, to survive, to go on living. And 10 years in, you know, Stellar is transforming. It's transforming to incorporate new ideas, new energy, new approaches to problem solving. And like I said earlier, 2024 was the most transformative year yet for the Stellar ecosystem, right? The launch of Sorbonne, from ideation on FutureNet, right, to the sandbox of testnet, to live on Mainnet. Sorbonne made its way into the world and transformed what's possible by adding smart contracts to Stellar. From proofs of concept to building blocks to end-to-end use cases, the ecosystem transformed from a green field of possibility to a little village of projects. I say village because I think it's kind of like in the like early Westminster Palace day. Like, I think we've got Big Ben, right? We've got the context. We don't yet have the Who, or the Beatles, or the Rolling Stones, or the Kinks, my favorite. But actually, that's when I kind of want to plug Builders Bridge. Like, the Who and the Beatles and the Rolling Stone and the Kinks of the Stellar ecosystem are across that hall. There are 100 projects pitching. Most of them are less than a year old, right? And all of them have that fire in their bellies because they understand the transformative power of the technology. And from them, our Stellar invasion will emerge, right? But not only did the ecosystem transform, there was also a huge transformation of the tech stack itself, right? There was transformations at the core level, at the platform level, at the application level. These transformed operator experience, developer experience, and user experience, right? The way we interact with the network, the way we submit transactions, retrieve data, even the very things the network can do itself, all transformed. And that is what you're going to hear about on this stage. Today, right, you're going to hear about testing. You're going to hear about the extensive nature of Sorbonne testing, what's possible. You're going to hear about passkeys and smart wallets and how they're poised to transform user experience, not just for Web3, but just generally for any internet interaction. You're going to hear about new ways to think about the Sorbonne virtual machine, right? It's going to sort of transform your understanding of what's possible and also transform the way that you think about the Sorbonne virtual machine in relationship to things like the EVM. It's actually a lot better. You're going to hear about DeFi protocols. You're going to hear about how they've launched, what they're doing, what their impact is, what the current state of DeFi on Stellar is. And you're going to hear all about the network and about network participation, what we're doing to grow it, to transform it, to evolve it. But before any of that, right, you're actually going to get to hear from someone who has been super involved in building some of the key tools that probably all of you use every day, the CLI and the TypeScript bindings. And we're going to start out by not just thinking about transformation in this abstract way. We're actually going to get to go down into the details and understand how those things were built and what they were built for in our first session of the day. And I'm going to bring up Chad O, who's going to tell us how Stellar's dApp tooling optimizes for joy. Chad, are you ready? Let's go.